Hi everyone and welcome back to Chess for Charity. In this video, I'm going to show you a really cool puzzle where only one move wins in this position. So currently, the black pawn is threatening to promote on h1, and there's a lot of tension here between the pawns on the 6th rank going up the board and the pawns on the 7th rank trying to defend this king. So take a second here, see if you can find what move, either a king move or pawn move, what move is the idea to win this game. And while you're thinking about that, let me just quickly encourage you to subscribe if you have not yet already. Half of the income that I earn on this channel goes directly to charity, so all the likes, all the subscribers, that stuff helps me out so much. Okay, let's get started here. So let's rule out the obvious, right? One obvious move is don't try to run and catch this pawn, because although you'll succeed in catching the pawn, because you can get to the square before the pawn can, that's going to lead to these pawns being captured and you'll lose, right? D takes c6 is one way to do it. That one's going to run, that one's going to run. You're not going to be able to catch them both. And importantly, even if you make a move like this, you can stalemate their king, but they'll eventually be able to get out, and they have a lot of time. So any king move doesn't really make sense. And if you move the king any other way, this one's going to run, and you have to worry about all these checks. Stuff like that is not really going to work out, right? C takes d6, and then you have to move, and your pawns are getting decimated here with check. And look at this. This pawn is not going to be enough to win, plus this h pawn is winning. Okay, so let's rule out that. Great. Now let's get to the meat of it. What about the pawns? Which pawn do I need to move? I can capture here, I can capture here, and of course I can capture with the d pawn. Okay, so let's talk about the way we think about this. The way you think about it is this symmetry. And how do you treat this symmetry? Well, let's just talk about the outside pawn, the c pawn, for a moment. If I take c takes d7, what is black going to do? Right now they can't take back because this pawn is supported, but you're also not really threatening anything, because even if this pawn, say this king was here, I wouldn't be able to actually dislodge this king. So what's the threat? Well, there isn't really much of a threat. So c takes d6, and how am I ever dislodging this king? And the answer is you're not. You want to play something like king c6? Great, you can never get to king c7, so it doesn't work. And an important note here is that same idea I was just mentioning. If they take with the d pawn, now it's a problem, because I am now able to support this d7 pawn, which means I can push, and I can show this just as an example. I can play e7 check, pushing this king out, and now I can get here. And I'm going to be able to promote on the next move, and white would win. So importantly, black has to take with the c pawn in that variation to keep things good for them. Okay, so this c pawn will lead to a loss if black plays correctly. Is the same true for the e pawn? Because I'm looking at symmetry here. Yeah, pretty much, right? You'd think so. If I play e takes, right, my goal is to get here. Well, they won't let that happen. So e takes d6, and now we're in the same situation but flipped around. I can never dislodge this king, right? I really hope you're getting the instructive lesson here. So this pawn's going to run, and I can't run and get this one and worry about these two. It's not going to be a good thing for me, right? I play this move, they play h3, I play this move, they can start pushing this one. I'm not going to be able to catch them both, right? King g3, d4, they can take. I'm not going to be getting to d1 in time, just to see the rest of that out. Okay, so let's think about the remaining pawn, the d pawn, to break the symmetry. Well, now, which direction do I capture? I can capture on c7. I can capture on e7. Let's just look at the differences for a moment. So let's just pick a direction. Let's just say I go e7. If I take on e7, black has two options. They can either take, or they can kind of just move aside, and not just in front of the pawn, not take. Of course, they could go this way, but then they get mated. So that's obviously not what they want to do. So let's just talk about the taking line. So let's say they capture. What's my goal? Well, like before, I can try to support these two pawns if I capture and bring my piece in. And that's a great idea, but unfortunately, this does not work because after king c6 and h2, I'll be able to promote, but it's going to lead to a draw because both pieces are promoting, and this is not enough to win. As long as black doesn't get here somehow and allow this type of skewer, it's going to be a simple draw. So what is the difference if they play, instead of capturing, if they play king e8? Is there any difference? Well, yes, in this line there is. I can play c takes d7, and now, what did that do? It bought me a move, essentially. King takes e7, I play king c6, and now if they play this, I'm one move faster. Notice this? See that? Look at that. Boom. And now they move anywhere, and I have this move securing the h1 square. So they have to be very careful. They don't want to move aside in that case. They want to capture right away. Once I take here, they take here, it'll be a draw. So what's the difference if I take this way? Well, this is the key lesson here. So let's make sure you're paying attention. If I play d takes c7 check, if they capture or they move, let's look at both. If they capture, important note, I can play e takes d7. Now I can move my king up here and support this pawn promotion. So like before, I just play this move. Let's just say they go h3. I play king h6. They can play h2. Okay, I play here. And you might say, isn't this a draw like before? No. Why not? Well, look at where they have to go. Check. Where's the only square they're allowed to go to? They have to go, boom, to c6. And you get this beautiful queen a8 check. That is a skewer because the more valuable piece has to move out of the way, which allows me to get the piece behind it, right? That hurts. Okay, so what am I saying by that? I'm saying that in this variation, after I capture, there's not really a good move for black. So after this capture, what do they do? You might wonder. I showed h3. Maybe they want to move a different pawn. Does that make any difference? So what? You want to move this pawn? No. Then what if you put the king back here? That's a good thought. But, like I said, the whole point is I'm supporting here. And you might notice right here, what is the difference between e6 and c6? Well, where is this pawn promoting? On h1. And what is h1 seeing? It is seeing c6. It's not seeing e6. Okay, so what's the point there? So the point is that I can get away with this maneuver because they're not going to promote with check. Wonderful. So what if they, instead of capturing, what if they move aside? This is their last hope. Can it work? The short answer, no, it does not work. They move there. I play the very simple e takes d7. They're going to capture now. And that allows me one extra tempo, king e6, and I'm going to break in here. If they want to block that, then they're going to have to give up the square by force, like this. I'm going to get there. And if they do something else, let's say they play, I don't know, h3, I take right here, I'm going to promote, and you're going to get skewer. And if you want to be really fancy, you can just do this, and then, I don't know, after this takes, maybe then you could take right here. That's a nice little touch, so that if they promote, that's just mean. Then you play this move, and it's going to be a win. So that's it. Hopefully you learned something from this. The symmetry of this position is wonderful, but you have to always worry about where is this pawn going to promote, and what is that seeing? And that might give some insight into which way you should take, right? D takes c7, and all of that follows from here, like this. Bang, and now I can get right here as my little resting place. And there's nothing that they'll be able to do. So from here, like I said, pick your favorite line, but it's going to be a win no matter what. But yeah, that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like and subscribe, do all that great stuff. It helps me out tremendously. But that's it for now. Thank you so much. Bye.